Hey guys, welcome back. BDCKR here. We're back with our weekly Q&A thing. This is season 14, episode 10. If you are on YouTube right now, and you probably are, you have access to a video. YouTube videos are, there's this thing where there's like an audio feed and a visual feed at the same time.
There's moving pictures.
Yeah. You get like, I don't know how many frames it is on YouTube. Is it like 29.97?
I don't even know.
Because I know one of the things, well, whatever, it doesn't matter. Technology Connections has told me a lot about like video formats and stuff, and I only sort of partially remember it all. So I feel like I've absorbed a lot of information, but it's all sort of leaked out of me like a sieve. So you're watching it at some frame rate, and I think it's close to, but not exactly 30. And maybe it used to be that, and on pure digital formats, it is often now actually 30, but I don't know.
Okay.
Anyways. So, but you're watching something, and if you're watching it, what are they watching?
All right, so same as the other episodes of the season, our intent is to show who we think is going to be the upcoming challenge character. That is going to be Martian Manhunter Prime. And we usually go into a lot more detail on the recap, which is going to be this Thursday night. But playing him a bunch over the weekend, things just jump out at me, and the sort of the standouts are really his problems and why he doesn't work. Besides the obvious, which is that his stats are low. So he's one of the old characters. He is lowish stats, and it favors health more. So his attack stat is pretty awful. And then when you try to make him your main damage dealer, his special one is not ranged. And that by itself is not necessarily the worst thing. But when you use him with Tanti Totem Master's Death card, and you do a special one when you tag in, because we're doing that with Claw of Horus to shatter gears. Unlike every other character that shoves too far that it doesn't do damage, he doesn't really do damage except with the Master's Death card. So special one doesn't do damage, but he doesn't get his power back. So it's that specific, unique ability where his special one is not ranged. Master's Death card shoves the opponent just out of range. And despite not doing damage, I wonder if it's because we're getting the gear shattering effect of Claw of Horus, that it counts as though he has something, the opponent does have something done to them. And it's a bit of a waste. Second part, again, focusing on the shortcomings with specials. His special 2 has 3 hits. They're all about equal power or equal damage, which is generally how we like it. So you think, it's not bad. No, it's awful. The first 2 hits are ranged, so it doesn't matter how far away they are. But the third hit, interestingly, is not. So you want to be close enough to make sure that you knock them out. Then you need to be close enough because his damage is low enough that the first 2 hits might not be enough. Separation of the hits is also a problem, and because they're just a little too tight. So if the first hit knocks out the opponent, the second hit will miss, and the third hit will land on the opponent tagging in. If the second hit knocks out the opponent, the third hit will miss. And what's particularly frustrating about Martian Manhunter is the animation. There's a huge pause in it. It looks like it should hit. It looks like it should hit pretty hard, and it totally whiffs.
Yeah, that's always disappointing, I guess.
Yeah.
Because it feels like it should. It feels like you're losing out on something, whereas if it's really fast and you miss, you go, I guess so, right? That's just how it works.
Right.
Yeah. So before we get into questions, we have a couple of sort of real-life things that we want to talk about. I say real life, but it's media. First off, you just watched Sinners, you told me.
I just finished watching it today. I've been watching it in bits and pieces when... that's the other thing I want to talk about was the CNE. Was the... finished watching the last bit, doing it while I'm skipping rope during lunch.
It's a really good movie.
It's fun.
So let's talk about it a little bit, because one of the things that I really liked about Sinners is the way that they tie...
Are we going to do spoiler alert?
I think spoiler alert. I would say I really recommend Sinners. I would recommend you watch it if you haven't. Spoiler alert for Sinners, but I also think that relatively speaking, because we both want to watch the movie again at some point, I feel like it's one of those movies that probably works pretty well, even if you've had it spoiled for you in advance.
I mean, if you know what's going to happen, for sure, yeah. Well, except there's an interesting twist, for me at least, about 2/3 to 3/4 way through the movie, where something happens. I guess if we're spoiling, it doesn't really matter, right?
Yeah, so skip ahead if you want spoilers, or if you don't want spoilers.
So it starts off, one type of movie, and where it's really about, I guess, the Old South.
Yeah.
Like sometime very soon after slavery's been, air quote, abolished, but there's still a lot of remnants of it.
Yeah.
And it smoothly segues into a vampire movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then it really jerks you back into an Old South movie in the most interesting way.
Mm-hmm.
Like that part where you realize, okay, so they dealt with the vampires. Oh, crap. They need to deal with the racist rednecks, too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was, to me, that was a really fun moment.
Yeah. There's a lot sort of going on with the movie, but there's a lot of stuff that's interesting, and I think it's a fun movie, but it ends up being really rewarding the more you know or are motivated to look into it. Because the movie, I think, this is my read of it, is that it's ultimately about power and control and self-determination. Mm-hmm. And it's about the things that you give up for certain forms of power. It's the things that you think you're going to get but don't with certain forms of power, right?
Yeah.
So I think one of the things that I think the movie does exceptionally well at is making the evil in the movie seem seductive. Mm-hmm. It is very rare in a movie where an evil will pitch power to a character, or where they'll go, join the dark side. These are all the things that it offers you, where it doesn't feel wrong in some way.
Well, that's why the twist back into the Old South story is interesting, because you could sort of come to that conclusion on your own, or you get a really nice contrast where, okay, so you could fight these vampires. On the other hand, you could kick the butts of the racist Ku Klux Klan members that are coming to kill you anyways.
Well, because that's one of the interesting things is, so one of the pitches of the vampires is like, 1, you can live forever. 2, you can step outside of sort of the racism of your time, right? Mm-hmm. If you are a vampire, you don't need to be black first and foremost anymore. You can be a vampire first and foremost, and we can live together as vampires, and you will have the power to sort of step above that, and more so than that, if you join us, we'll help you deal with those racists, right? Mm-hmm. Don't worry, we'll take care of them for you. And so there's an important moment in the rejection of the vampires. He is saying, I don't need this. And then this is spoilers for the end, right? Where he goes and he takes out a bunch of the KKK.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. First when I saw it, it felt more like a sort of a wish fulfillment thing. I didn't exactly sort of understand how it fit into the story. And I liked watching it. It was fun, right? Mm-hmm. There's a certain catharsis to it, but I wasn't sure if it made as much sense within the themes of the movie initially. But the more I thought about it, I'm like, okay. So he's consciously rejecting sort of that trade-off to power. And he is saying that I don't need to compromise myself. I don't need to compromise it. I don't need anything given to me. I can have this without it, and I'd rather sort of take on those personal costs, right? But the seductiveness of the evil in the movie, you really do see the pitch, and when he's talking and how he's explaining stuff, you go, I can see, like, if a character in their position in the movie said, okay, I'll step over to you, I wouldn't see that as a moral failing. I wouldn't see it as sort of a flaw. I would see it as somebody making a decision for them with themselves with incomplete information. And it would appear to me as somebody making a trade-off, right? A trade-off that they understood. Sure. But I could see a rational, thoughtful person going either way. And I thought that's really good, because I think the vast majority of media, when there's an evil villain pitch of, oh, you should join me, it doesn't feel like there's two options. It doesn't feel like there are two equally valid choices. Right. It feels like there's one that is clearly supposed to be the one that makes sense. Right. And in that moment, I was like, oh, yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah, because not everybody just wants power.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people want self-determination and freedom and choice.
Yeah. And so, one of the things that I really like is also when you talk about what motivates the villain, I think the villain has a good enough motivation in the movie that it doesn't feel entirely, they don't feel purely malevolent, right?
Right.
There's enough there that makes you feel sort of comfortable with like, oh, this person's not just evil without cause. They're a well-developed character, right? And so there's a lot of stuff that they do really, really well. And I really like the way that they keep bringing back the theme. So like one of the things that ends up being really important for the movie, and they sort of don't explain, you kind of have to get caught up to it as you go, is the currencies in the movie.
Oh yeah, the wooden nickels.
Yeah. So the way that they have sort of the plantation cash, right?
Right.
And so they do a really good job of sort of bringing these elements of racism without explaining a lot to you. So you know that slavery is over, you know that they're getting paid, but then you see that they're getting paid in like company script, basically.
Yeah.
Right? And so they're getting paid, but they don't have self-determination. And it's a huge plot point when characters are choosing whether or not they want to accept American currency or the currency that these people on the plantation are getting, and the idea that, this is money, but it's only money here, that this doesn't spend anywhere else, that the more you take this money, the more you are bound to this place, the less freedom of movement, of self-determination, but everything else you have, where you have this resource where you can subsist, but you're not free. And if you only have this company script, you can't go anywhere, you can't do anything, you really are stuck here.
Have we talked about this before? I think we must have, about tipping. And how tipping culture is a vestige of racism. Of black racism, specifically.
I've heard you talk about this before. I don't know if it's been on the podcast.
Okay. I love how you say podcast. It makes it sound so much more sophisticated than it really is, which is just the audio.
Of us talking, yeah.
Out of the video. Okay, so the one thing, it made so much sense when I realized it. So tipping culture is big in North America, not just US, but also in Canada. It's not that big anywhere else, right? So there's, to the point that in the US, and I think until very recently Canada, minimum wage was split up into regular minimum wage and minimum wage for industries where you would be tipped. And so the minimum wage could be much lower.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert. If you were expected to receive tips. And that there is a bigger expectation in North America that it's normal for tips to supplement a wage to the point where an employer can really underpay them.
Yeah.
And when it was explained to me, it became so obvious that was the where it came from. So tipping, where does it happen? Service industries. What kind of service industries? The service industries that often employed black people in post-slavery North America. Because there was a significant amount of slavery in Canada too, not just the US. And it was, like you said, about the company script. It was a way to maintain control. So that if the employer... So the kind of jobs are available to people who were previously slaves was limited, right?
Yeah.
You didn't have the education, you didn't have the training, but there were jobs available in the service industry. So I think big would be the porters in trains, wait staff.
Yeah.
And so a way to exert control over people who would otherwise have trouble getting jobs is to give them these service industry jobs, underpay them, and the patrons would be able to exert that kind of control and power, quite arbitrary, about whether somebody working that job would make enough to feed themselves. And so it would rely on that tipping of good service, subservient service, and so it didn't develop the same way in Europe, Australia,
in countries that don't have a modern history of slavery.
And then freeing slaves and having this large population of people needing jobs.
Interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah. So it all ties in, right? Like all this kind of stuff so now you've got this, again, like you were just saying, this currency that is no good except in this one area where you're locked in. And if you're getting paid in this, how are you ever going to get free if you don't have the resources to start someplace new.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's also a really interesting and deliberate choice to make the vampire Irish, right? There's a lot of parallels there where he's both white and not, right?
Well, I guess at the time he would have been not white.
Yeah. Well, they were kind of treating him as white, actually. So but it's one of those sort of in between things, and there's sort of important moments where they bring attention to it. The choice of music is really important. Like, "Will Ye Go, Lassie Go" is the song that he sings, that the vampire sings at one point in the movie, and I'm like, oh, I know that song. That's cool, right? It's an important.
I don't know the song.
It's an important cultural song.
Okay.
I don't even know how important it is. It's simply a song that I know. And then also with sort of Irish folk music, there is this more of a tradition, I think, of sharing, right? Where like the song, my familiarity with it is through one specific rendition, but there's a lot of Irish folk music where when you look it up, you'll see tons of covers, tons of people's renditions of it. And there's more of sort of an idea of shared ownership and community in music. And that's definitely also an important theme in the movie, right? Of how music connects you to culture and community. So I think the fact that that song was chosen and the fact that it's a song that I know.
Roots.
Yeah.
And your future.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of ways in which the more you go in knowing and the more you are motivated to learn and the more you engage with those sort of little things that are explained or not explained to you, that it ends up being a much richer movie, which is really cool.
It's more interesting that that first vampire is not white. Like, it's not the white oppressor the same way.
Yeah.
Right? Because, I mean, there were, back in the day, there were places in the U.S. that would reject Irish people, that would reject Italian people.
Well,
people who code as white now, but at the time were different enough that they didn't get to participate in that power structure.
So I would say that a lot of this has not been huge spoilers. If you want to watch the movie, the thing I'm about today is a pretty big spoiler, so skip forward a couple minutes. But one of the scenes that really stood out to me, again, huge spoilers, skip forward a couple minutes if you haven't seen the movie and want to. But that scene that stood out to me is when Preacher Boy, I believe it was praying to try to sort of
and then Irish would pray too.
He sort of brings his head in, they come together and they pray together, and he goes, that was the words that they put in my mouth when they took my father's land from me, but they do bring me comfort all the same, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's the only moment where they really sort of bring in clearly and explicitly the idea of the Irish as a suppressed class, also as this sort of, and then you see how in some ways he's sort of consumed by power, right? Both as a vampire, the way that he's been subsumed into whiteness and the power that's given him, but also that sort of connection.
But it's
lineage,
not quite whiteness, right?
Not quite whiteness. It's not quite the same. That it's a sort of a tainted whiteness, right?
It's a different power, but I guess it's interesting because it becomes less about. So you know how there's certain structures where you can have, there's like the token person of color, and I don't even know how to articulate, because I wasn't actually planning on talking about all this when we started, but because I just finished watching it today.
Yeah.
But that it is less about tempting you with, because there's a different flavor to it, right? It's one thing to tempt you to be the, you know how there's on the right wing that they have token people of color, token people who are LGBTQ, even though a lot of their policies are very much anti all of that.
And there's a utility to having somebody to point to as a member of a group and saying, this guy agrees with us, and you said that we're supposed to listen to gay people. And so we're listening to this gay person who just happens to agree with all the stuff that we agree with.
So it makes it more realistically tempting to have another out group showing you, hey, you can do this. And it makes the repudiation of it that much more powerful.
But the thing too is that he's also offering a perhaps tainted, but like a version of community. And I think that the interesting thing is there is this also tension between community and not community. So to go back to the company script, right? The tension is between power and community, and you can't have both. If you accept payment in this company script, you are locked down. You are stuck here, but you are integrated and part of the community. You are letting the people of the community come in, and you are saying, "Hey, I'm stuck here, but this is where I want to be, right? You are limiting your options, but and if you were to only take, you know, a contender, a lot of the community would be locked out, right? You would not be able to engage with them. You would not be able to, you know, do business. You would not be able to integrate in the community properly. So you'd have to keep yourself separate from them to maintain that power. And so it's a really interesting tension of he's also offering in the movie a version of community that comes with power, right? And it's not clear exactly. On some level, it feels like there is authentic community there, right?
So, and saying that, it becomes really clear to me that the choice to make Michael B. Jordan twin characters was actually critical. Like, it wasn't just one of those, you know, flashy, oh, that's cool, make it twins. It gives you the chance to really show that kind of conflict. And
because they had different goals,
right? Because
they made different choices,
but they were both. They were, you know, that kind of internal conflict. You can make it more visible in a movie like this, because, you know, in a book maybe there's an internal monologue. In a movie, letting them have that conversation about, we can't take this and discuss it. Like, I mean, some things they let you figure out, and some things it helps to make it maybe not necessarily just more obvious, but it gives you that chance to have it not be so opaque.
And because they both want both. They both want power and community. And it's two people who are in a very similar situation, who are in basically the same situation as each other. Who want almost the same thing, but who take different paths and make different choices because they have to, because you can't have both. And they end up sort of splitting and making different choices. And it's really, like, I think that the movie works, I think, without thinking about any of this stuff. I think the movie just works as a vampire movie that's cool and slick and interesting and, you know, really sort of tightly paced and horror, but not like scary horror.
So the one criticism I have of the movie, and it's a very minor one, is that when they use flashbacks to scenes from earlier in the movie. And I feel like the flashbacks to stuff we didn't see or from a different perspective, absolutely. It worked beautifully. The flashbacks to scenes that we already saw felt a little bit heavy-handed, only because I guess normally when I watch a movie, I half fall asleep most of the time. This movie, I was paying attention. And I knew what they were referring to when they played the flashback, and I felt like I didn't need it.
They felt like they were not giving you the space.
Me enough.
There was
and that's fine. It's totally fair, because I know there's lots of movies where I'm watching that where I'm half asleep and I'm not paying attention, and it would not be as obvious to me.
And I will also say that I'll give this movie more credit for all the stuff that they do kind of trust you with. And I also, for all of the stuff that they do not explaining stuff, I think, because there's a lot of stuff that's a metaphor, right? There's music here as a metaphor for community, music as a metaphor for power. There's a lot to do with faith. And what I really like in here too is that the way that they handle the faith, there's clearly sort of criticisms of the different types of faith in the movie. But from the perspective of the movie and everything that happens, everybody who has a faith-based sort of belief is basically right. Like we
can't be wrong. I guess that's it, right? Like, if you've got a faith-based belief.
But like I'm saying, in as far as people can be proven right, right? When we're talking about the voodoo, right? That is, she's right about everything, right? When we talk about the preacher boy's dad, right? The preacher, right? He is right when he says, you know, your music is going to sort of, it's devil's work. You're going to attract the wrong kind of attention. He's 100% right. In as far as any of the statements, I know it's not really, because faith is more of a metaphysics thing, and we're talking about sort of like they're testable hypotheses that they make, right? But as far as anybody makes a claim or a statement, as far as anybody makes a testable hypothesis, most of the faith-based stuff is all right. They're showing, and they show sort of more that there's a power in the belief necessarily than a specific, like, you know, Christianity is right, or spiritual like magic is right, or whatever, because they show, you know, Preacher Boy's faith in music is so strong that it is literally power, that it is sort of supernatural. Or
I didn't read that. I thought it was more just that he had the ability. There's something, you know, like sort of a chosen one kind of through line. Instead of that it was his faith so much as that he was just that good. Like he was special. He had the guitar and he was just so talented with it.
Well,
he's skilled with it.
I guess faith might not be exactly the right word, but it is something that matters to him so much that it becomes sort of a core thing. Because the thing is, what we see is that he chooses music over and over and over again, right?
Mm-hmm.
He chooses music because he feels like he has to. He's so drawn to it, right?
Right.
And so it's maybe less faith and more like strength of conviction that he feels like this is something that he needs to do.
Mm-hmm.
That lends it its power, right? Because
there's a different kind of power, right? Like,
yeah.
I mean, we talk about the power dynamics and there's different sort of axes of power.
Yeah.
And that is definitely one of them, where instead of being controlled, he's actually the one that's the most powerful there.
Yeah. And there's also the scene that they have in the movie where he plays his music and all of the people from different times, the past, the present, and the future all come together. I think that scene would have been incredibly corny and would not have worked for me if it weren't so sincere.
Mm-hmm.
I think there was a moment where it still kind of almost took me out of the movie, but just to the edge. And then I was like, you know what, actually, this kind of works for me. And it was because it was really, really sincere and really earnest in a way where I think if it was a little bit less confident in itself, if they were sort of, if they tried to bring attention to, oh, we know this is a little silly, if it was anything else other than like really serious stuff, like there is a power in this, I think it would not have worked for me, but I think they really went for it. And I was like, okay, cool.
I think,
I'll follow you.
So I'll tell you, it felt to me actually more like the way when I first saw Star Wars.
Yeah.
Where up until then, every science fiction movie I'd seen, the visual effects were so bad that they were unbelievable.
Yeah.
I think a lot of credit needs to go to whoever I guess the cinematographer is responsible for it.
Yeah.
And the visual effects, where it was just so smooth.
Yeah.
And it was just so good that it was believable. Like it was just it was, I guess, the kind of storytelling language to say, okay, maybe it's not even literal. Maybe it's just they believe it so much that this is true for them at that moment.
Yeah.
And I again, it worked for me also, but maybe a little differently. Mm-hmm. No, it was a good movie.
It was a really good movie. Yeah. I got quite a lot out of it. I had some friends that would argue, but I would say in terms of like the my favorite horror movies that I've seen that try to do something interesting, I would put it in the same general like pantheon as like the Jordan Peele movies.
Oh,
which are also quite good. I would say it was not as good as my favorite Jordan Peele movie. Not that we need to compare people, because I found it really good.
I don't watch a lot of horror. Yeah, so
I don't watch a ton of horror.
I don't really have I don't feel like I know enough to really compare. I just know I liked it. It was entertaining. Like, and again, we talk. This is the funny thing, right? We talk about all these things that it does neat and cool and whatever, and ultimately, it's that I liked it. I was entertained.
Yeah,
and entertained in a way that having stuff in it that was meaningful just added to it. It wasn't the meaningful stuff that made me enjoy it. It was just entertaining.
No, I think the first thing that really struck me was how well everyone was characterized in the movie. Mm-hmm. Like, they make the main characters feel so cool, and they have a little bit of an edge, but they're believably like, you know, fundamentally good people, right? They do that sort of scene really early on where they go into the convenience store and all of their sort of wheeling and dealing and how they interact with everybody coming back into town. Yeah. You feel believably like there are people who they should be feared, they should be respected, and that they're really, really cool. And that in as much as they are able to sort of do things for other people and interface with the community that they do. And so you get this sort of feeling of like a hard exterior that they have to put up. And I'm like, they're slick. Like, they're likable. I like them, right? I would not want to run into them on the street. Your life would probably be worse the more you were close to them and in their sphere, but they're really, really cool.
Right.
And that, I think, was super important for getting me bought in early into the movie of like, this is how I'm supposed to feel about them. And they do a really good job of making me feel that way about them. Right. And then I'm in. I know who they are. I know what they're like. I know sort of how I'm supposed to feel about them. And I really do feel the way I'm supposed to feel about them, which is, I think it's a hard trick, right? Because I know that, you know, everybody behind the scenes making the movie is trying to build up this feeling about the characters. So because I know that it's happening, right? There's a level of me that I think that makes it easier to sort of stand aloof from it and go, oh, this is what's supposed to be. This is how I'm supposed to feel in the moment. And to really get you in there and make you actually feel that way is hard.
Right.
And they do a good job.
We need to do, we're running out of time. We should do at least one question because it ties into the other thing I want to talk about in real life.
Okay. Is it the first one?
Yeah.
So Eddie Do 4221.
That name looks familiar.
We 100% have heard this commenter in the past. That was also the first thing when I read this. I'm like, we know Eddie Do. They say, saw the Komoda and had a mini heart attack. Thought something was ending. LOL. Question, do you guys have any interest in uploading any more strength training videos?
Nothing specific, but now that they've mentioned it. All right, so the Canadian National Exhibition is running right now. There's maybe a week and a bit left before it's over for this year. So it's a fair in Toronto that runs every year in the last 2-3 weeks.
It's an exhibition.
2-3 weeks before school starts. And so the one thing that stood out for me this year, one of the things that actually, there's a bunch of stuff. Some of the stuff I won't mention because that would totally out me.
Yeah.
Or what is it? Dox me?
Dox.
But they have this hanging challenge where it's, I think it's a 1-inch bar that you have to hang from for 2 minutes. You pay $10, 2 minutes, and you get the prize. But instead of one of those crappy prizes where it's a game where everybody wins, you got to keep on trading up.
All big.
They're all big prizes. You get them automatically. You pay $10, and you will win the big prize. And it's in the rare occasion where the prize is probably worth more than $10.
Yeah.
Because most people fail. And I didn't try it, but I saw a bunch of people try it and fail. I saw one person who was successful. And I've watched videos about this. I've read about this, and I know enough about the exercising and grips and hand strength to know that part of the reason why it's difficult is that the bar rotates. Part of the reason part of the way to be successful, one of the strategies, is to use a hook grip, which I've known about from deadlifting. And I haven't used it because I haven't needed it, and my grip is strong enough, stronger than my back. My back usually gives up before my hands do. But I recognize now, after trying a slightly different challenge where you hang from a bar but it doesn't rotate.
Yeah.
The part that I hadn't considered was, it just hurts. When you spend enough time on your hands and you're holding it in position like that, you can't adjust it. So a rotating bar makes it harder to adjust because once you let go,
it's spinning. It's not staying.
It's less stable and it makes it harder. But that if you can adjust, then it still hurts a lot to hang on a small bar for that long. So my idea for a video, now that it didn't occur to me until just reading that question about what to do, but I thought, if I go back next year to the X, so I'm going to train this year to practice and increase my tolerance for hanging. Yeah, with the hook grip. I'm going to
try to win one.
I'm going to try to win one. I don't even want it. Like, it's just for the idea of
I'll take it.
And I think I would do a video. I would post a video of that with my face blurred out, of course.
And then would you want to try to talk through like the kinematics of it and other stuff?
I don't know about talking through it. I don't know that we've ever really done any training videos so much as every once in a while doing like a PR.
Yeah.
So it's just stuff like I think
it would be interesting if you wanted to talk a little bit about the underlying technique and stuff that you were doing. Yeah,
because I don't think we've ever done really training, like teaching videos, because most of it is, I remember, all right, so I've done some deadlift just to see what my max was.
Yeah.
I've done some weighted chins to see what my max was.
Yeah.
And I did one skipping video where it was just to show how long I could do it.
Yeah.
With the
and then you did one weighted chins that was like a competition, right?
Oh, that's right. Right.
With, I forget his name, but the
MMA guy.
Ex-MMA fighter.
Yeah.
MMA trainer guy. Yeah.
Yeah. So the short answer is now yes, because you asked the question. It hadn't occurred to me. I was thinking I was going to start training to do it, but my strategy at this point is going to be, because I don't have a rotating bar, I think that if I can improve my pain tolerance, the endurance for having the weight in my hand, because I think my grip is good enough.
Yeah.
It's that it hurts.
So it's pain tolerance and then your technique for the claw grip or whatever?
The hook grip. So once I think once I hit maybe like 4 minutes of hanging, that I should be good enough no matter how much unstableness I get from a bar.
Have you ever tried the unstable bar before?
No, I haven't.
So do you know how, do you get a sense of, like, have you seen online of people talking about like how it's different or not?
No, but I guess from the way I've looked at and analyzed it is that the reason why it's hard is because one of the advantages of a stable bar is that you can adjust so that more of your fingers are over. So when you look at your hand, your thumb as an individual digit is the strongest. But because it's on one side, it's a much weaker side than 4 fingers.
Yeah.
So when you get your grip normally, the more you put your fingers in an advantageous position, the stronger your grip overall will be, and your thumb just supports it.
And I guess
when
if it lets you roll, you're rolling back.
So then when your wrist is slightly extended, it affects how strongly you can, how strongly you can grip with your fingers. But it also means that there's less of your fingers on top of the bar. Instead of, and it's to the side, so that it relies less on your whole sort of fingers from the knuckles, but it comes more closer to the tips of your fingers, and that makes it harder too.
Yeah, and for the place that the force is applying itself makes it more sort of like it's uncurling your fingers.
Right, and so then it relies on an angle where your thumb is more important.
Yeah.
So I've noticed that when I do one-handed deadlifts on a thick bar rolling handle.
Yeah.
So it's the same idea where if you're strong enough, you can still maintain that position, but it takes a lot out of your forearms. And I don't know that I can develop that kind of endurance. So part of it will be what the hook grip does is it makes you're lending your finger strength to your thumb side by wrapping your a finger or two over your thumb. So then it makes up for the weak part. It doesn't stop the roll, but it means that once you've rolled into the position where it rolls and you're hanging right at the bottom, that you're in less of a mechanical disadvantage because you're compensating by making your thumb side a little stronger.
Interesting. Okay.
Bless you.
Yeah. Okay, so I think that probably brings us to the end here.
Yeah. Slightly bonus minutes.
A little bit
long extras, but less bonus minutes, but less injustice talk.
So there
Lots
we go.
of injustice video though.
Like barely any injustice talk. So to finish up, we'd like to give a huge thank you to our patrons on Patreon.
That would be Michael Devries, Irvin Ruiz, Hoshi127, Nora Klimek, and Miguel, who are supporting us on the credited level.
There we go. Thank you so much for your support, and thanks so much to all of you for watching. We'll see you next time.
Komoda.